Two men have been charged in the kidnapping, robbery, and attempted murder of a Buryan woman.
Kidnapped, beaten, shot, and left for dead.
Tonight, two men are facing charges in the disturbing kidnapping and torture of a Buryan woman.
Steal her car and jewelry and then kill her.
Detectives say they held her at gunpoint and forced her into their car, where inside she was kicked in the head.
The scariest part isn't the gunshot. It's the moment inside a moving car when she realizes they brought a power drill, not to threaten her, to use it. And the whole thing starts in the most normal place on earth, a dim apartment parking lot, 10 steps from home. Welcome back to Fear Loop HQ. Tonight's story is a single case. One of those crimes that feels unreal until you see just how real it is. A license plate reader hit, a tiny ATM withdrawal, a $17 gas purchase, and then, behind those little numbers, something brutal. This case happened in Washington State in January of 2025. Two men, Kevin Daniel Sanabria Ojeda and Alexander Moises Arnaez Gutierrez, were later charged with attempted murder, kidnapping, and robbery, among other crimes. And the victim? A 58-year-old woman named Maria Guadalupe Hernandez Velázquez. This report is based primarily on a certification for determination of probable cause and related charging documents, plus local reporting. On the night of January 21, 2025, deputies were dispatched to a welfare check at the Park Des Moines Apartments on Des Moines Memorial Drive South, an area that sits right on the Burien-Tukwila line. The call wasn't "someone's been kidnapped," it was a neighbor heard a woman screaming, someone found a hat, and the resident wasn't answering her phone or door. That's the kind of call that 9 times out of 10 ends with, "Oh, false alarm, she's fine." But this time, while deputies were still there, dispatch gets new information. The woman from that apartment complex, Maria, had arrived at Harborview Medical Center in Seattle, and she'd been found on the side of Interstate 90 near milepost 57 with multiple gunshot wounds. So now it's not a welfare check, now it's a timeline. Detectives later interviewed Maria at the hospital through a Spanish interpreter just hours after the attack. She said earlier that day she worked her regular job. She cleaned houses, then spent some time with a friend. Around 8 p.m., she returned home in her gold 2022 Hyundai Elantra and parked in stall 308. And here's the detail that makes your skin crawl. She was on the phone with her daughter when she noticed 3 men hanging around the lot. 2 of them were outside near the entrance to her walkway. The third was sitting in the driver's seat of a compact sedan. She wasn't sure of the exact color. The 2 outside were smoking. Later, detectives would collect cigarette butts from that area as evidence. She keeps walking anyway, because it's her home, because you don't want to live like a frightened animal. And then the 2 men near the walkway stepped forward and tell her something that turns the air cold. They say they've been waiting for her. One of them has a gun, and according to Maria, he tells her he knows she lives alone, and he knows what time she usually gets home. That means this wasn't random. This wasn't wrong place, wrong time. This was targeted waiting. Maria said they forced her towards their vehicle. She screamed. She yelled for help. She fought. And her words in the statement, no one helped her. During the struggle, one of the men fired a shot and missed. And then they got her into the back seat. Not sitting upright. They forced her down on the floorboard, wedged her under the back seat space with her head pressed against the back of the driver's seat. 2 of the suspects sat back there with her, and she said they kicked her in the head multiple times to keep her down. In a lot like that, at night, screams don't always sound like danger. They sound like an argument, a bad breakup, a drunk fight. And that's what predators count on. They took her purse. Inside, prosecutors say, was about $20,000 worth of gold, plus credit cards and other items. They also took her keys, vehicle and apartment keys. Then the car starts moving. Maria can't see where she's going. Her face is pushed down, pinned in place. And now the threats start coming in like a rhythm. Kill you, kill your family, dump you somewhere far away. And then Maria hears something else, faint, tinny, ordinary. A phone GPS voice. Take I-90 towards Spokane. That little sentence matters because it tells you the plan in real time. They're not just trying to get away. They're trying to get her far away. At some point in that car, they demand her pins. Not tomorrow, not later, now. And according to charging documents, they forced her to provide pin numbers while drilling into the top of her right hand with a power drill. No long description here, no gore. Just the fact that this happened is enough. And it wasn't random cruelty. It was functional cruelty. Pain used like a key. The documents say body-worn footage later showed a visible injury on her hand, consistent with being drilled. Then more threats. If she reports it, she and her family die. Here's where the story turns from terror to tracking. Investigators later got bank records and location data from Maria's phone and vehicles through judicial authorization. And those records show her phone moving north, then eastbound on I-90. Around 8:15 p.m., the device appears to exit at 150th Ave Southeast in Bellevue and stays in the area about 15 minutes. During that same window, her bank statement shows an ATM withdrawal for $42 at 15100 Southeast 38th Street, Bellevue, a shopping center area with multiple businesses. After that Bellevue stop, the phone continues along I-90. The records show the phone traveling towards the spot where she's ultimately left. Maria told investigators that along I-90 they stop. They take her out of the vehicle, and one of them says something that tells you exactly what kind of night this is. She's hurt too much, so they want her dead. Then they throw her over a retaining wall, what's described as a Jersey barrier. And the man who shot at her earlier in the parking lot points the gun at her again. He fires. Maria ducks and she's hit in the shoulder. She believes he thinks he hit her in the head, so she makes a choice that saves her life. She yells and plays dead. The suspects leave, and Maria waits. 15 minutes, according to reporting, before climbing back over and flagging down help. When detectives canvass that roadside area, they recover a 9mm Luger shell casing, plus small personal items, lip gloss, a piece of cloth material with a button, and there's blood in the snow. Maria survives, and she's transported to Harborview Hospital, and she gives investigators an account detailed enough to turn terror into leads. While Maria is at the hospital, deputies learn her vehicle is no longer at the apartment complex, suggesting someone returned and took it. Then a critical modern tool comes into play: flock license plate readers. Detectives search her plate and they get a hit the night of the crime, 11:10 p.m. at a location in Des Moines. That hit matters because it suggests movement while she's already at Harborview being treated. So now investigators have her statement, her phone movement, her bank transactions, and a vehicle timeline. And each one of those things is a thread. Investigators also see something else in her bank records: an in-person transaction for $17.07 at a Seattle area Goal gas station posted the next day. A detective follows up with the gas station and retrieves CCTV footage. The video shows Maria's vehicle arriving, followed by what appears to be a blue Chevy Malibu. And the detective notes clothing details: gray sweater, black pants, distinct shoes, on a man later identified as Kevin Daniel Sanabria Ojeda, interacting with the driver of the second vehicle. That's the pivot, because up until that point, the suspects are shadows. Now they're people on video, and now they're trackable. In a request related to bail and conditions of release, prosecutors described the attack as brutal, saying the victim was tortured, taken out of the county, and left believed dead. And they write that the case shows a level of sophistication, pre-planning, and violence that's alarming. They ask for $1 million bail. Local reporting says investigators, working with federal partners, tracked Sanabria to a motel in Illinois, where he was arrested and a search warrant was executed. Reporting also says stolen jewelry belonging to Maria was found in the room. And then there's the part that always lands with a thud. According to reporting citing an arrest report, after being read his Miranda rights, Sanabria admitted participating in the kidnapping and related crimes, while later pleading not guilty in court. Arnaiz Gutierrez was arrested later during a traffic stop in the Puget Sound area, according to a local reporting. Both men were held on high bail amounts in connection with the charges, but the case doesn't neatly close, because multiple sources mention a third suspect, identified in coverage as Daniel, still under investigation. And in the charging narrative, Maria reported one suspect used the name Charlie during the attack. Different names, different identifiers. A reminder that when someone survives a night like this, they can tell you the truth, but they can't always give you every piece. Every time I read cases like this, the same detail keeps rising to the surface. It's not the interstate, it's not even the weapon. It's the sentence Maria says they told her in that parking lot. That they knew she lived alone, that they knew her routine, that she made them wait. Because that means the real horror wasn't a monster in the woods. It was the idea that for some unknown amount of time, someone stood in the dark outside her home, watching the lot, watching the hallway, waiting for the exact moment she'd feel safest. And the only reason we even have this story in full detail is because at milepost 57, she did the one thing they didn't plan for. She survived. She played dead and lived long enough to tell detectives what happened. And somewhere in all that evidence, the receipts, the timestamps, the license plate hits, there's a quiet message that's hard to shake. Sometimes the line between I'm home and I'm gone is 10 steps, and one shadow moving at the wrong time.